Okay. Yay. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Everything good? Y'all can hear me? I can hear you.
Yep.
All right. So, hello and welcome to the 8th episode of the Well Projects A Girl Like Me Live, a new interactive live streaming series of events and health and wellness issues, discussions, and education among women living with and vulnerable to HIV. Every 2 weeks, ICC Coven will sit down with different co-hosts to chat about key topics in our communities. In today's episode, I talk with Porchia Dees and Gina Brown, two long-term survivors from the Well Projects community. So I'm so excited. We're honoring National HIV Aging Awareness Day today. That isn't until the 18th, but we would have missed it if we pushed it back any further. So I'm so grateful to have y'all here. And I would first like to start with introduction. So, Portia, you want to go first? Let us know your affiliations. I know we know y'all very well, but I want to hear affiliations and how you got linked with the Well Project.
My name's Portia, and I'm a CAP member for the Will Project. I'm a WRI member for the Will Project. I am also a national HIV and aging intern for NMAC called the NAN. And then how I got connected to the Well Project is actually, Masonia, she referred me to Krista. I went to the USCA conference in 2018, and then she introduced me to Krista there, and then from there, I've been connected.
All right, and Gina.
Hello, Gina Brown. Um, let's see. I became involved with the Well Project through WRI, the Women's Research Initiative on HIV and AIDS. I started attending the meetings in 2012. So I knew Krista and Jenna and Dawn and a bunch of other people. And then I was invited to become a CAB member. And now I am the chair of our CAB, our Community Advisory Board, a position that I truly, truly enjoy. And just connecting with the ladies all the time. I also work at the Southern AIDS Coalition. That's my day job. And I'm really happy to be here with y'all.
I'm always happy to be here with y'all. So, let's see, National HIV Aging and Awareness Day. I don't even, when I think of HIV and aging, I definitely, stereotypically wouldn't think of Portia. So, Portia, how do you get involved in a conversation like this?
Well, I think because I've been living with HIV for such a long time, so since birth, 35 years. I don't know what age like or how many years you can like say somebody's a long-term survivor. Like I don't know what the is it like 10, 15? Like how long do you have to be living with the virus to be considered a long-term survivor? But I've been living with it for 34 years, so I feel like I'm definitely aging with HIV, and I think verticals, people who were born HIV positive or been living with it since birth, experience some of the things that come with aging. Um, Not just aging with HIV, but aging in general at earlier ages, like under 50. So that's how I feel like, think that's why I get involved in this conversation or included at least.
I love that perspective. Like not necessarily the fact that you were diagnosed at birth or that you know contracted HIV at birth, but just the fact that we have a different face that goes on to the aging topic, because typically you would think of like older people, and in my head we still young, but in somebody else's head I feel like we're not so young no more.
Right.
especially, especially when you can't apply for like youth stuff anymore. So we're not
Right.
that. But by this age, I feel like there is some experience, and you have gone through different parts of life that definitely, like, we're aging a little bit. One of my friends just said that she's noticing some gray hair. Not to say that only
Uh-huh.
older people get gray hair, but I was like, it's happening to us.
Yes, in different places too.
Whoa. So, Gina, how long have you been living with?
I've been living with HIV 27 years this past April. I was diagnosed April 4th, 1994. And if you had told me then that I would be here now, I wouldn't have believed you. And Portia, I'm so happy to be here with you because I say that all the time when we talk about long term survivors or people who have aged with HIV. We normally think of older people. And I often say, where are the young people who this has been their life, all of their life? So,
Thank
CC, you
you.
put together a good panel.
Thank you. You know, this the Well Project team. We be doing stuff, and we could not do
Yes.
it without our community. I just think our community is one of the best. I'll always big us up. You know, even when it comes down to input of what we want to see talked about, like, is one of the most amazing things. So to have y'all two different perspectives, and what better, you know, Portia and Gina, like.
Right? I'm honored to be here with you too, Gina. Same.
This is so
Shoot.
decent. So, oh, I'll be paying attention to words, Gina, and I heard your date. Is that's 4/4/94?
Yep.
Oh,
Wow.
And
oh,
what's weird about my date of diagnosis? So my birthday
Wow.
is January 15th. And
mm-hmm,
everybody knows Martin Luther King was born on January 15th. We just celebrated a different day.
mm-hmm.
He was murdered on April 4th, and that's my day of diagnosis.
Oh,
And
Wow.
that got me too.
That's
a
deep.
lot going on.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot going on. Oh God, in 27 years?
Yes.
I always try to do math when I hear stuff like that. Like I was only like 5 or 6 or something. Whoa.
Yes.
So that comes, I think that's how a lot of people define like long term survivors. Depending on who you ask, you know, they'll have a different answer. But most of the time, sorry, it's the airplane going by.
And then a
Most of
car across the street with a loud motor. I don't know where they're going, but I'm going to mute for a minute.
most of the time we think of long-term survivors as people that were like pre the current medications that we have now. So
Mm-hmm.
pre ARVs and all of that. So
Absolutely.
I was looking at, you know, who else, Miss D Connors. She had a TikTok up the other day, and she had all of these pills laying out. And she was talking about how long ago she was diagnosed and how I think it was like 14 pills she was saying she had to take every day. Did y'all experience that?
Yeah. So me, I mean, I can't. Just from far as back as I can remember, I was. I know all people didn't probably. My parents allowed me to be on some of the study trials. Like if I go way back, on some of the study trials for the new medications that we have today. And then I remember when I was a kid, I had this little princess lunch pail, you know, them hard box lunch pails, and it was filled up with medication. Like, I feel like we had to take medications for like the side effects of the medications back then. And and I remember this one pill that I took. It was called DDT. Oh, I used to hate taking that pill. Like I was used to cry. Like my mom used to make me take it. You had to chew it, and it tastes like chalk, and it was nasty and ew. Yeah. So I
Was
remember
that like every day or was it multiple times a day?
every day. I took pills in the morning and at night. So I can remember taking like maybe 10 in the morning, 10 at night as a kid, as a little kid. Princess lunch pail full of medication. So yeah, and I always say I have a love-hate relationship with the meds. Um like I know they work. I know that I need them. But I've also experienced a lot of side effects from the medication. And so like been on like medication holidays and stuff like that because of that. So
What
yeah.
is a medication holiday for those people that may not know?
um it's like when you go off of your medication and take a break. And I've done that, not, and I'm not encouraging anybody to do this, but I've done that for many reasons, especially in my like young adult years. Um, yeah, and I had to learn the hard way that that was not a good idea. But yeah, I went off. It's when you go off your medication. That's what a medication holiday is.
And is that like at the advice of like professionals, or are you just taking things into your own hand at that point?
Yeah, I I took things into my own hands at that point. I don't think any providers give their patients like recommendations to go on medication holidays. No, I don't think
But I
so.
think providers understood
Yeah, they
because y'all were
understood.
very vocal about why you were doing it. So I remember when
Hmm.
I started working in the field in 2002, I worked at our HIV outpatient clinic, and I would work on the days that the adolescents came in. And I tell you, everything I know about HIV, I learned from the adolescents. They would come in and they would talk about, I'm going to spend a weekend by my boyfriend and I cannot take these pills with me. Or they would say, do you know what it's like to always, your whole life, have taken medication?
Yeah.
And I got a different perspective from them. And so did the providers. And the providers started saying, well, we're not going to be as hard on them as we used to be.
Right.
People
Right.
used to be like drilling it in your head, take your meds, take your meds. And then it became more of listening to why young people weren't taking their meds.
Right. Right.
Um, I was on 17 pills once upon a time, and I used to line them up on the bed and take them one one by one and say, "This is the only way I could do it." I would say, "I'm adding a year to my life. I'm adding a year to my life." Until I got through all 17 of those pills.
Man.
And yeah, and it was, you did what you did. And Krista put a comment up, and yes, Krista, I remember the alarm clocks. This was before we had these sophisticated cell phones. We had little beepers, little buzzers that you could set that will buzz in your pocket to remind you to take your medication because you took it throughout the day. It wasn't like, oh, I'm on one pill once a day. That was a dream. That was
Yeah.
something that was in a sci-fi movie. It was not anything that was something
Man.
that we were thinking like, oh my goodness, they're going to one day have one pill once a day. It
And
was
I'm
like, I
so
hate
grateful
taking
for
all
this.
these pills.
So
I'm
then an
so grateful.
injectable had to be like
I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. That there's something in a syringe that they can put inside of my body that could work for
I
30
can't
days.
I can't wait. Like I can't wait till it actually drops and we can do it. Like, and I don't have, because even with my one pill once a day, I sometimes I'll be forgetting like if I took my medicine or like it's you can mess up with the one pill once a day too. So that shot, oh my God. I can't
Yeah.
wait for that to come out.
I sit here and I listen to y'all and I feel like I don't know, maybe some guilt or something. I don't know what the emotion is, but I complain about taking my little 2 pills a day. I hate it. And sometimes I have taken myself off of medication at some time because I don't want to take medicine. I don't feel like it or whatever. But to hear, for me now, it sounds like a sense of privilege. I've been positive like 13 years. And so if y'all, for however long it was that you did it, to take so many pills at once, multiple times a day, so that you could stay alive, like that is inspiring to me now because I'm like, okay, well, if they could do that, then I could go ahead and pop these little 2 pills. I could do this. And then, when I'm able to go back to my 1 pill once a day, then okay, I can pop this little 1 pill because I'm adding years to my life. Thank you, Gina.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
This is the first time I've ever been compliant, or I hate that word compliant. This is the first time I've ever followed a doctor's instructions, directions on taking medication. I was on a pill and birth control pill. And I would take that pill maybe twice a month sometimes. And it was and they were right in my drawer. As soon as you open the drawer, they were right there. And I would look at it and say, oh, I'll take it tonight. And then tonight would come and I'd be asleep. And I don't know if it's because this is my health and it's different than a baby, you know.
Mhm.
So I take this medicine, and I understand people who are fatigued. I understand people who miss doses or skip doses or make a decision not to even take medicine. I would never tell anybody they were wrong for that. What I do is I just try to tell people, keep up with your labs. No matter what you're doing, keep up with your labs. Always know where you're at, health wise. So that's the main thing to me is us knowing our CD4 and our viral load.
And for me, I'm hard headed. I had to learn the hard way, like, and ever since I experienced, the consequences from not taking your medicine and going on, a treatment holiday or whatever you want to call it, I've been on it. And then now since COVID really got me on like taking my medicine, and not only that, like doing extra stuff, like um because I really feel like, man, so we're in intersecting pandemics right now, and the Delta variant is happening, and I think it's just gonna be get worse and worse. And so, like, honestly, COVID got me on it. Like, I gotta keep my immune system up. And then since I've been vegan, I've never been able to get my T cells over 500. Um, since I was born, like my T cells have never been over 500, and now I'm actually at 691. And I think it has a lot to do with because of my diet change and everything, all this extra stuff I've been doing. And so now I'm excited. And now I'm like, okay, I feel like I could get to 1,000 now.
Oh,
So I've been on it.
I
Yeah.
feel like I I have too since we've been in this pandemic. Like I don't want to get sick at all. So let me take my meds. And I think something that's pushing me right now is the fact that I am pregnant and that I want, the baby to be healthy without HIV and I want to breastfeed. So that's like my motivating thing right now.
Hmm.
And another form of privilege or another thing of privilege to even be able to say those things right now to two long-term survivors is like, whoa, look at how far we've come. Like, look at, y'all came before me and these things were not even like a topic. It seems like they were just trying to keep us alive, to keep you all alive. And now we've gotten to a point. See, I want to get teary eyed today. I don't know why. I haven't cried in like 2 episodes. I've been doing so good. Um, but now we've made it so far to where these changes are that, that we can even start having these conversations of vaginal births, of, possibly, breastfeeding without transmitting the virus. One pill a day, the injectable that Gina can't even wrap her mind around. So,
Or just aging with HIV. That wasn't a thing. It was a death sentence. They said I wasn't supposed to be 5. And so 34? What? And people are like living long and healthy lives, So
how old they said for you?
5. I wasn't supposed to be
Wow.
5. Yeah.
So what did the age 15 feel like? Like, did you know? I'm just throwing out a random year. Like, that was years past your life expectancy.
I think I barely start thinking about that now. At 16, I was still living like or thinking I was gonna die. I don't know why. But now I know why. But yeah, my mindset didn't shift until probably like 25, 26, where I started thinking the other way.
That you could live.
Plus, yeah, plus my mom passed away in my from AIDS related illnesses in my junior year of high school. So that was like around that time, like 15, 16. So yeah, I was really deep in that mindset of I was gonna die too. So even though I was already living 15 years past my life expectancy, but yeah, my mindset didn't shift until I got like older.
What
But if
about
you
you,
think
Gina? Did
about it,
you?
also, the three of us, we are three different stories, right?
Hmm.
In this HIV thing. So, Portia, when your mom had you, there was no thought of medication that could keep a woman from transmitting HIV, right?
Mm-mm.
Then I came along in 94 and they were doing a study called 076. And
Wow.
076 was the platinum study that showed that if a woman took AZT and gave it to her baby for 6 weeks, that it keep the baby from contracting HIV. Now, CC is a different story. Not only
Hmm.
is CC able to prevent her baby from contracting HIV vertical, but now breastfeeding. You
Breastfeeding.
know, like,
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah.
Like, I
It's like
want to get pregnant just so I can breastfeed.
no.
Yeah. For reals, that's so tight, y'all. It's like three different perspectives. Yeah.
Yes.
Aw. So I want to read this comment. One of the first times I met Dawn Everett, the founder of the Well Project, she was presenting on HIV treatment to a group of women living with HIV. It was 1996. She was talking about how she had as many T cells as fingers on her hand, and she had named each of her T cells. Wow. Wow.
And
Wow,
she's
that's
still here.
crazy.
She's
It,
still here. And if you see her, you would not think that at one point her T cells were 5 or below.
Wow.
Dawn looks amazing. She lives an amazing life. She's an amazing woman. And and I look at Dawn as someone who taught all of us, even when we didn't know it, to be not only concerned with our own care, but to look out for each other. Because once upon a time, women, we weren't really in research.
no,
They kept saying we were difficult. It was hard to work with us. They had all these things about us, but they were not even reaching out to us. And once people like Dawn started saying, pay attention to women, get women in these clinical trials. And then it started happening. And then we went from Portia's mom to me to you, Cece.
yeah.
Oh, oh, I love this so much. So my major in school was like it was child and family development. So to be able to watch that lifespan, and to study it all. So, Portia, your plethora of information, from I would have never associated a Disney metal lunchbox with HIV medications. Like, because I was there, like I was that child with you. We around the same age. Mine was filled with the little canteen, with the top.
Yeah.
Like, it would have never been HIV medications,
Yeah.
not for me. So to even have to go back and reflect that was your experience, whoa.
Hmm.
Also cover that adolescence and everything. Gina, I know you was a young thing. You was a young thing.
Yeah, I was 28 when I was diagnosed.
Which,
And you
yeah,
know what I did though? And I'm so glad to see y'all live your life. I stopped living, y'all. I got my diagnosis and I became so afraid of somebody, because I live in a state that criminalizes HIV. So I became so afraid of somebody saying I didn't tell them, and having me on the front page of the newspaper, that I just stopped living.
Wow.
I didn't start living again until 2002. Now, I was diagnosed in 94 and I stayed in a corner. I stayed in my house. I stayed isolated. I stayed all of those things we hear about for all of those years. And then in 2002, I started working in the field and I started meeting amazing women like y'all. And I started meeting women who told me that I could live. And then I met this one chick who said, you know what? Whether you live or die, live your life, girl.
yes.
And I was like, well, all right, then maybe I can do that. So yes.
There was almost a decade of shame or living in silence
Dang.
and I'm thinking like that was through the 90s, which the 90s seemed, when I look back on it, I don't know how y'all experienced it, just seemed like such a great time to be alive, but yet you were dealing with something so
Yeah.
heavy. And
Dang.
You went through what was that, the 2000, when we thought that the world was going to end,
I was
like.
ready for it to end. I was like, what? I'm gonna die anyway, so everybody should die with me.
Well, I'm glad you picked yourself up and finally in 2002. So what, you had to be like 36 or something to
Yeah,
end
I
it.
was 34.
Okay.
I think I was 34. But I know I was sick and tired of hiding. I used to
Yeah.
work at a pharmacy,
Mhm.
in the pharmacy at that. And my pharmacist was one of these brilliant people that could look at a pill and tell what it was. So I knew if he saw my medicine, he would know. And I would wait for him to turn his head, and I would put my hand in my pocket, take the pills out, and pop them in my mouth. And I tell people, I probably ate bugs and lint and tobacco, whatever was in my pocket, because I never looked at my hand. I just took my pills and popped them. And I was afraid. I was terrified of people finding out. Um, I couldn't watch a movie about HIV with other people in the room. I would break out in a sweat. It was horrible. It was horrible. And then I got a newsletter once, and it said that my organization, my agency was hiring. And I was like, I might be able to be a peer. I didn't even know what a peer advocate was, y'all. But I said I'm gonna go for it. And I was hired, and I walked in that building, and I was home. I didn't just have a job. I had something to look forward to. It was, even though I was a peer advocate, it was a career. It was a career,
It's
you know.
it's crazy because some of the same things you saying it I can resonate with, but just different. Like it wasn't until I got connected um, into I after I transitioned out of pediatric HIV medical care, which was at Children's Hospital LA. I went to AIDS Healthcare Foundation um, in Hollywood, and that's kind of when I fell out of care. But when I came back after, I experienced all the health issues that I did. My kidneys failed, um, and but I made it through all of that or whatever. And then after that, I was like, all right, uh, God done got me through, so I got to keep my promise to God. And that's when I got connected back to. I started going back to AHF, and I became what is it called, a cab member with them. And then they like started having me participate in their advocacy events, and then I quickly became one of their star mobilizers. And then from there, that's when I felt like that same thing you said, where like, okay, I got a community of people. Like, it's not just me. I thought I was by myself for a
Yes.
long time. Like, I don't know why. Only person I remember seeing on TV and stuff was Hydea, but other than that, I thought I was by myself for a long time. And then so yeah, once I got connected back into care, back to like all those resources that I used to get as a kid, then I felt whole again.
Yeah.
But I kind of like lived in silence, I would say, when I got into middle school, all throughout high school, till I turned about 24, 25. Because when I was a kid, I didn't know it was no stigma. I didn't know it was a stigma until I got older.
We're coming back to stigma. I definitely want to talk about that. But what we ain't gonna do is just breeze over this whole kidney failure and
Oh,
all
dang.
that. You surely just skated all over
I
that.
sure did.
Okay. Wait. Okay. So kidney failure at what
Okay.
age?
That was in 2011. I had to be like maybe 23 or 22, 23, I
Was
would
that
say.
HIV related?
Um, so at that point, okay, I was adherent to my medication until I graduated high school because I had to be, because my parents made me take my medicine.
Mhm.
And it was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was undetectable. And I started doing my own thing when I graduated and went to college. I didn't want to put my medicines in the refrigerator. at the dorms. I didn't like how the medication affected my body. Like I experienced lipodystrophy from all the years I've been on medication. So then plus I was in my drinking party in college stage years. So I don't know if it was from me not being adherent to the medication like I should have been. And then plus and the reason why I didn't want to be is because I wanted to drink and I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And so I didn't want to take my medicine and be drinking and stuff on top of that. But sometimes I would. So I don't know if it was because of that too, like taking the medicine and partying and drinking and stuff. But yeah, my kidneys failed. It was crazy. I I think I was off on and off my treatment for about like 6 years. A long time. I know that's bad. Don't judge me, y'all.
Judgment.
And so I had my T cells was slowly going down, and I had got sick, like really sick, and I knew I had pneumonia because I've gotten pneumonia a lot, so I know what it feels like when I get pneumonia. So I was like, all right, I need to go to the emergency room. I know they're gonna tell me I got pneumonia. You know, they told me I got pneumonia like I thought they was, and then they told me I had acute kidney failure. I was like, what? And because I was so young, they didn't want to start me on dialysis right away. So they was like flushing me with that saline stuff, like trying to see if my kidneys would just start come back to life on its own, but it wasn't. They put a catheter in me. I was like so big, like I got so big because the fluids wasn't leaving my body. And then eventually, after 2 weeks, they started me on dialysis. And I was so depressed, y'all. I thought I was going to have to do dialysis for the rest of my life. I was like, oh no, this ain't it. This ain't it. And after doing it 3 times, my kidneys started working again. And yeah,
Yay.
and and then got out the hospital. They took the central line out. And ever since then, I was like, all right, I got to get my life together. Like, plus I bargained with God while I was in there. So I feel like I had to keep my promise, like, so I got back into treatment. And then from there, I did like this AHF, put me on contract, on independent contract for like 3 months. And then I got my first job working at Foothill AIDS Project in San Bernardino. And then from there, I just been going hard in the field.
Wow, that was a journey. That
Yeah.
was a major
Yes.
journey.
And
Um,
sorry. And yeah, I don't know if it was related to the HIV. And then right now, I'm experiencing blood clots. And I think we always want to relate it to like the HIV, but I don't know. It could be treatment related, or just I don't know.
so, whoa, okay. And you're only 34?
Yeah.
Okay. I always, you never know how much you can learn from your own peers. I would always look to like older women, older people to, that's who can teach me something. But no, I've definitely learned a lot. And, the time that I've known you, and even in this conversation, okay, taking heed. Got it. Um, Gina, I always hear you talk about menopause. I ain't putting your business out there because you
Girl.
didn't did it. Always. And I'm like, what does HIV have to do with menopause? Like, what? So that's
So
something
there
that
are,
people age.
yes,
Okay.
yes. There are some studies that show that women that we tend to go into menopause a little earlier um, because of our HIV. And I think it's because of the medicines we take and different things like that, right? Um, Menopause is not going to affect everybody the same way. But I tell you, I have like the worst case of it, in my opinion. Constant hot flashes, mood swings, those kind of things. I really want somebody to do a study looking at menopause and HIV. I went to Croy for the first time this year. That was an experience, y'all. And there was a study that looked at the grouping of the symptoms. So women who are perimenopausal, women who are menopausal, and who are postmenopausal. And if you look at the grouping of those symptoms, it was amazing because I can remember, like, right before I went into menopause, feeling this way. Now I'm in menopause, I'm feeling this way. I can't wait to get postmenopausal. I don't care if I do feel that way. I just want it to be over with. And I don't think that they take enough time. Researchers take enough time in figuring out the way our uterus works, the way our reproductive
Mhm.
system works for women who are living with HIV and who are on this medication. I think that three people I know who are doing amazing work around this. Dr. Chuck Weir, he was at Dartmouth. I love Chuck. I call him my dad. Dr. Gina Brown, when she was at NIH, she was doing amazing work around
Yeah.
cervical stuff and women. And I can't remember Flavia's last name, Crystal. Please hurry up and type it out so I'll know it. But the three of them, I read a white paper that they did once, and it was looking at trauma in our cervix. We tend to keep that trauma if we've been molested or raped. That trauma tends to live in your cervix, and I was like, "What?" I was shocked. So to look at something like that,
Mhm.
and then to go deeper and see how does that impact menopause for women who are living with HIV. You know, looking at women Portia's age, right, who've been living with HIV all their life, and saying, are we seeing any patterns of things happening different with those women? So with Portia and the Hadias and the Tiffany's, and saying these are all women who we know were born living with HIV, and they're in their 30s, and now they're talking about hot flashes. I'm not saying y'all are. I'm just like they're all talking about hot flashes, or they're talking about mood swings, or they're talking about being fatigued, and it has nothing to do with the HIV side of things. So let's look at where are their hormone levels. Let's look at
The
keeping
and
up with that. I want people to do some real research on us, y'all.
I think a lot of things are related to the treatment of us being on the treatment for so long too. Like I know a lot of verticals who have experienced kidney issues. Mary Bowman also her kidneys failed and she was on dialysis. That's what she passed away from. And then I keep pushing with the NAN through NMAC. I feel like we need to get bone density scans and how I'm getting a colonoscopy this Friday. I'm nervous, but we need to get them at younger ages. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, menopause and all these other health issues, we experienced them earlier. So yeah, like I know people who have really weak bones, have broken like their bones and stuff like easily. Other verticals who I hear complain about that, like, but we've never had a bone density scan. Why are they not, checking our bone health or our kidney health, like keeping up? Well, they actually do keep up with my kidney health, but um, I don't know if that's all across the board for everyone. You know what I'm saying? And then, like you said, reproductive issues, menopause, all this stuff. Like, yeah, we need to get checked for these things earlier.
So I think that's really interesting that you just even brought up the bone density topic, because in talking about like having this baby, the pediatrician I'm working with, she was talking about the treatment that the baby would take, because it still is recommended that the baby, take the HIV meds at least for like the first 4 to 6 weeks. And something different is happening with this child versus my first one, where I think Zion stayed on the same med the first 6 weeks. They're suggesting that this baby takes one med for 4 weeks, and then after 4 weeks, if I continue, like if I breastfeed or whatever, they would switch, because the first medicine is known to create those bone density
Mhm.
issues in the children. And I'm like, wow, okay. I didn't even realize that that was a thing. But stuff we're learning from y'all, people that have been through this already. And I'm just so grateful for y'all. Um, I'm going to jump into our CAB, their input, things that they wanted to make sure that we talked about. And y'all have hit so many of the points already. And I want to just make sure that we get to a good bit of them. Um, so we talked about lipodystrophy, um, how to keep our organs in optimal health. I feel like we have touched slightly on it. We have at least talked about the kidneys. We've talked about the cervix. We've, talked. Do y'all find yourselves doing anything differently, than people your age because of HIV or what?
I think I definitely take care of myself better, or at least I have to go get my labs done and get checked up and go to the doctor more than the normal person, or I don't want to say normal, but a person who
Not
doesn't
living
have,
with.
yeah,
Mhm.
who does. And so like I feel like I take care of my health better. I mean, I have to, but you know, than others, than most. What about you, Gina?
Yes, the same thing. I think about like my mom, watching my mom as I grew up. When she got in her 50s, it was like, all right, I'm 50, I'm gonna sit down and just be a 50-year-old old woman. And I know like I'm 55 and I don't feel old. And I know that I have to do things that she wouldn't have done. And that's like drink water, take a walk. I'm really being mindful of what I eat.
Yeah.
What are you keeping in the house? Snacking on carrots, things like that, you know, um, and just really being aware that women have heart attacks in their 50s.
Yeah.
So I have to do some
Yep.
things so that I don't have a heart attack,
Get in front of
or
it.
yeah, and that's it, Portia, getting in front of it, making sure that all of the things that I know are coming with this, because see, once you get over 50, these years go by so fast. I
Right.
made 50 and then I was 55. I wasn't 51, 2, 3. I was just 55. And I think I'm going to just be 60. But really, like, thinking about aging and knowing that, and I hate the word normal like you, Portia. I hate that word. But knowing that this is not a normal, air quotes, y'all, aging process.
Right.
That it may be sped up because of my HIV treatment and my HIV, or it may be a little harder on my body. So I got to do certain things.
And
And
I
I'm
done
glad
got
you talked about bone density too, because I have spinal stenosis, and I think it's because of
hmm
some of those issues. I never had any issues with my bones, and then all of a sudden, when I made 50, it just it happened.
50. Okay, so
50.
give me something to look forward to. I'm 33, so that's like 17 years. But I can also remember 17 years ago, so that's weird. That's, we're not as young as we used to be, Portia.
We sure are not.
So this topic came in from someone that was also born with HIV, and this is Kimberly Kennedy, which I love her so much. Um, let's see, disclosure. Does it look different now that we are older, and if so, what has changed?
I don't. Does disclosure look different?
Does it look
No.
different for you over your lifespan?
Um, I think it's still pretty hard. I don't know. I mean, you would think that because I'm an advocate and I'm public with my status that it wouldn't be hard. Like disclosure wouldn't be something that's hard, but not everybody. Like I feel like not everybody, just because I'm an advocate and I'm public on social media, not everybody that I meet in real life knows me and knows my status. So still to me, and I don't know if this is an internal thing, but I don't think disclosure has gotten easier for me over time. Like I still am hesitant, I guess, about disclosing, just because, or right off the back, just because I don't know the person and I don't know if I can trust them or if it's safe to. But once I get to know the person, then yeah. Um, I mean, I what I would say is that I think that there's different tools and stuff now available that can help you disclose now as opposed to back then. Like, they got commercials on TV now. They're talking about U equals U and prep and all this stuff. So, I mean, I think those things are there to make it easier. I don't know if it really does, but because people believe what they want to believe, whether whether you educate them or not, they gonna believe what they want to believe.
You know what I heard you say earlier? Like when you was back in high school, your parents used to make you take medicine. And so you said, and so I was undetectable. Were y'all using terminology like that back then too?
So I knew I was undetectable but I didn't know that undetectable meant untransmittable. I didn't know U equals U, but we did use the word undetectable. And then I think also undetectable has changed over the
Mm-hmm.
years because now it's below 20 or 50 in some places, but maybe back then it was below 1,000 or whatever,
Okay.
but yet we used undetectable was a thing. It just we didn't know it was U equals U.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
for
that's so,
me, I use disclosure as a way of not dealing with people, right? So it was, if I tell you, you're gonna run away anyway. So I might as well holler it out the window when you're trying to holler at me on the corner. I'm in my car and I have HIV. So you could leave me alone. And then I realized that that's exactly how I was using it. And it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to people and it wasn't fair to me. And the reason I said it wasn't fair to people because I wasn't giving anybody an opportunity to get to know me. I was throwing HIV up there. So that was like my stop sign. Once I put the stop sign up, you stop, and that was the end of it. And then it became like, all right, now I really want to date, but nobody wants to date me because I've used it. I've used HIV as a weapon
mm-hmm.
all these
that,
years. You
that's
know,
why I don't
um,
like that's why I don't like saying it right up front because I want the people to get to know me first, like, but sorry, go ahead. I cut you off.
no, and that's what I would encourage people to do. Let people get to know you, and then because in getting to know you, first of all, if you live in a state that criminalizes HIV, make sure you're just getting to know them, and it's not about sex because if it is, it can get really messy. You
Yeah.
know, um, but get to know people, let them get to know you. But more than that, you got to get to know you. And that
Mhm,
was the thing. I didn't know me. I
mhm.
thought I was HIV. I didn't know that there was a whole woman behind that diagnosis. I was so happy when people changed the terminology and stopped saying HIV positive and people living with or women living with. It became so, it was empowering to me. It was the thing that made me look at me differently. You know, um, Plus at that time I started really being honest about who I was as a person and who I wanted to date. And I didn't want to date men, and I was okay with that. And I had to say that out loud, And it was on something like this. We went to Amsterdam. Krista remember this, and I came out on a Facebook Live, and then I had to write a blog about it because now everybody already knows. So then I just told the world, um, and then I started looking at me differently. If I meet a woman today, I would not lead with I'm living with HIV. I would lead with I'm Gina. I'm an awesome person. I'm a mother, a grandmother. I do work in my community because I love my community. Um, and all of those affirming positive things about me. And then once we really got to know each other, or they got to know me as a person, then I would educate them on HIV. And I wouldn't even leave with, you equals you. Undetectable means untransmittable. I want you to know the science behind HIV. I want you to know that unless we're sharing a toy, our chances of you contracting HIV from me is very, very low. Probably the lowest.
Right.
And being honest about that, being honest about that and having that conversation. But also being honest with myself and saying I do want to date and I want to love somebody and I want to be loved.
I say, Gina, I think that from your statement you just said, the first person to that I disclosed my status to or that accepted me for all of me was a woman, and that was my first relationship. And I always say that being a lesbian in my early 20s, I feel like saved me from a lot of stuff. I didn't need no baby daddy, no pregnancy issues at 21, 22 when I wasn't taking my medicine, not doing what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't need those kind of problems. So, and you're right, it is uh safer, I guess you could say. Yeah, a lot safer.
Well, I ain't had no baby daddy issues till I got in my 30s. Is for the birds, okay? I want you to know that. And Gina, you gotta also tell these folks you go to bed at 6 o'clock. All right, there's something else you could.
I do. I do. Well,
That's real.
lately it's been 7:30.
Is
That's
It's been
real
about
that
old lady vibes.
7:30.
does that have anything to do with aging, or this just
No.
you? This just
What
you.
it, what I found is as I learned more about myself, I love being up when the world is asleep. I love getting up and working when the house is completely quiet and I don't have anybody saying, Gigi, I'm hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Gigi, can I do this? So I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I love that.
You know.
Maybe I'll consider this. I think I'm going to be on that type of schedule anyway.
Really?
So, yeah, that
Yes.
yes, when the world is asleep, that's when I'm like
Yes.
my most productive.
Gigi,
Yes.
Okay.
your schedule
We
about to
are I'm going
change.
to actually run this over a few minutes because we were late getting on, so like 05-ish. Um,
Yes.
but I want to get through a few more comments, so I'm just going to keep pushing forward. Could you both give me it like 1 minute? No, I'm not gonna put no time limit on this. Survivor's guilt. Do you all experience any of that, being people who have lived with HIV for women who have lived with HIV for a long time?
I I think so. I know I talk about my mom all the time. And in a way the work that I do in the field, I try to honor her every chance that I get in that work. And I'm actually writing a blog about this right now, kind of. And uh yeah, I experienced a lot of survivor's guilt from that. Like, I always talk about if we had the medications that we had available today before, well, we kind of did. If it was this much uh advocacy, people out sharing their stories, like back when my mom was still here, or if it was the amount of resources and support that we have available now, back when my mom was still here, she would still be here today. Like, you know um I think I experienced a lot of survivor's guilt around that. I think I'm traumatized from that, actually. Yeah, so
What about you, Gina?
Yes. When I came into this thing, I told you I was a peer advocate. It was four of us, and I'm the only one still alive. And I think about them all the time. And I think about all of the other women that I used to see at the clinic who died. And I think, what did I do different? What did I do to still be here? So, and it gets really hard sometimes. Even like, Portia, you brought up Mary Bowman. Mary was my
yeah.
first community daughter. And I even feel guilt about that, about Mary
uh,
not being here.
yeah, there's a lot of verticals that didn't make it. We A lot of us experience more developmental issues than others. It affect
Yeah.
the virus affects people's bodies differently. So yeah, man, there was a documentary she was in called "We Are Still Here," and we are, but a lot of us aren't. A lot of us didn't make it. I went back to visit my pediatrician. His name is Dr. Church. Um, not too long ago, and he was like in shock. Him and Dr. Furman, like they looked at me like, "Oh my God, you look so good! Wow!" And he kind of like took me back to his office, and he showed me like the amount of files that he has now, and then compared to the thousands he had when I was his patient when we were younger, and he talked about how a lot of people didn't make it too. So yeah, it's a lot of survivor's guilt. Like even we lost so many people from the pandemic, and we're losing even more now from this other pandemic. So
I talk to my friends now, like here goes another sense of like privilege and whatever. Like, yo, if I lose any of y'all, I can't imagine what y'all went through. But I got like my little tight clique of, advocate friends. And if I were to lose any of them, like, I don't know what
man,
I would do. I don't know if I would still have the fight in me to keep going. I don't know if I would have the same relationship with HIV, the courage to be able to get out and speak, because everything just seems like it's doing okay. Like we cruising right now, we coasting. I don't know that. So, oh my God, thank y'all.
and
Thank y'all for keep going. Oh my God. Okay. We're going to end on a lighter note, okay? So, two things, because I'm ready to fall apart over here. I got my tissue ready and everything. Um, so this is a perfect space to bring this up in. How do we bridge the gap between older/slash long term folks and the newly diagnosed? There's a tendency of long term survivors to dismiss the anxiety of the newly diagnosed. Like, you're just a baby, or oh, well, I've had it for XYZ years. You're lucky it's just HIV and not AIDS. So, like, how do we bridge those gaps, do you think?
First of all, we never say that. We should never, ever, ever downplay anyone's diagnosis. I remember sitting in the chair crying for 20 minutes. I'm sure the person who get their diagnosis today will sit in the
Mhm,
chair and cry for 20 minutes.
mhm,
Um, what I try to do, and I don't even go into it and say, it's not a death sentence. Nobody don't want to hear that. I want to hear your fears. I want you to tell me what you fear. I want you to tell me what it is that you're thinking, and then we'll have a conversation. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to look under the bed and prove to you that the boogeyman is not under there, because the boogeyman is under there. It is under there, and you got to look under there and see for yourself. Um, I try to make sure that I listen when newly diagnosed people speak.
absolutely.
Um, it may have been 27 years that I'm living with this, but that hearing those words are the same. I'm sure that how people felt 40 years ago, how people felt 30 years ago, 20 years ago, right now, it's all the
It's the
same.
same. Mhm.
And we can't pretend that it's different. The only
And
thing I will tell people is the medications are different now. The medications are not as harsh on your body as they used to be.
mhm.
And then I would encourage anyone to go and look at something like and the band played on, because we should all know the history of HIV, not just when our HIV started, but the history of HIV. That there was a struggle before that. Thank God for ACT UP. That had it not been for the lesbians in San Francisco, nobody could have gotten blood because the gay guys couldn't give blood. All of these things, we need to know that people did it, and then they gave us the baton, and then we did it, and now we're giving somebody else the baton. And that newly diagnosed people, one day somebody's going to hand you the baton. You got to be ready. you
and
know
just by continuing to have intergenerational conversations like these, like, and doing things like what national or what NMAC is doing, with national HIV and aging interns, they bringing together not just 50 plus people aging with HIV, but verticals too. And then just talking about it, just talking about it. I, I I really wish. I think some of the terms is outdated too. Like, I know why they say HIV and AIDS are different or why it's a difference, but I just feel like because I think that was part of the question. Um, I know I've had AIDS. I've been living with AIDS for since like 6 or 7, but my T cells have fluctuated up and down, so I think that part kind of scares people too, like that whole HIV and AIDS, the difference. And but it's not, I don't know, to me it's the same thing. I don't know. Because I've been living with it for so long, so I think just having these types of conversations.
That
And you saying
language.
that, Portia, made me think. I had one of our sisters in this work when she got her diagnosis changed from HIV to AIDS, and she like lost her mind.
Yeah.
And I try to be like, I want things to be light. I don't want people to be so torn up, you know. So I looked at her and I said, she was on the floor, and I leaned down and I said, "Ooh, you got one more letter." And she looked at me and she wanted to be mad, and she couldn't do
Oh my
anything but
goodness.
laugh. You know, because I told her, I said, you walked in the room thinking you had HIV, so that one more letter shouldn't matter.
Right.
And that's what we have to make sure, that that's the message, CC, that we have to tell everybody, that we all have a virus inside of us. It doesn't matter what you call it, HIV or AIDS. But there's a lot we can do to take care of that virus. And, you know, we can take our medication, we can drink
Mhm.
water, we can rest, we can meditate, we can go to support groups, we can, you know, whatever it is that you need to do to be here.
Look, y'all, we're about to end this, all right? Because I'm about to just fall apart. I, as a person, I like to call myself a midterm survivor because I'm not newly diagnosed and I'm not, classified as a long term survivor. Y'all have given me so much hope, so much inspiration, just like I gave myself 20 years when I was diagnosed in 2008. I'm 13 of those, but if Portia's 34, then it means that I at least have 14 more years. And if Gina can make
Longer
it to
than that.
55, then I can make it to 55. Like, it makes me feel so hopeful. And I'm so appreciative for y'all. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences. And we could probably go on in this conversation all day. We have like the
True.
nurturance and like the energy is just so. No, Gina cannot adopt you, okay, Katie? Gina can adopt me. All right, you just have us all, Gina.
Yes, Katie. Yes,
Wait,
yes.
look, Heather
I
wants to jump
I
in there.
invite. I
Okay,
adopt everybody. Yes,
okay,
Heather.
thank
You
you.
know you are, Heather. You already know you mine. So
Okay, so this has been such a wonderful stream. Our next one will be on 9/22, September 22nd. It's September is Sexual Health Awareness Month. I'll be sitting down with Kimberly Kennedy, which I'm so excited about, and Araya Lester. That's going to be such a decent conversation. OMG, I can't wait for that one either. So let me go ahead and say our little outro, and we're gonna be out of here, y'all. So thank you for joining us for the 8th episode, which I can't believe we're there so far, of the Well Projects. So, a Girl Like Me Live. Please join us again in 2 weeks on September 22nd as we discuss sexual health with the Well Project Community Advisory Board member Kimberly Kennedy and Araya Lester. We look forward to seeing you then. So, thank y'all again.
Bye.